is my pleasure and honor to introduce you to Dr. Eva Allen. Dr. Allen's award-winning research on cultural care utilizes a social emotional approach to establish and build relationships, enhance cultural competence and compassion, and develop an awareness to the barriers in providing an equitable education. Today's webinar will focus on providing an overview of social emotional learning as well as strategies for educator self-care. Eva, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, I can't thank the participants enough for taking the time out of their very busy days to be here and spend some time learning about social emotional learning, relationships, and self-care. So thank you for that opportunity. Just looking at some housekeeping items, like Debbie said, the presentation is being recorded. Links will be put in the chat that are referenced in today's presentation. And if you are joining us asynchronously or watching the video that is being recorded, we recommend that you have a reflective teaching journal that will help you jot down so many notes, any feelings, and participate in some of the sessions activities that we have scheduled. Like in good practice, it's a good idea to have norms, especially when you're thinking about building relationships. And Debbie mentioned that we are going to have your microphones muted. I do have to say that I have 4 dogs and 3 teenage boys at home. So bear with me that the dogs cooperate. And although my boys would like to mute me, this is one opportunity where I can't be muted. Again, post questions in the chat box and they'll be answered at the end. Unless they are extremely pressing, then Debbie will interrupt and we'll answer that question. And then again, most importantly, when sharing your multiple perspectives, we want to respect one another's privacy and dignity. There are 3 main objectives to the session, and the first one is just providing a broad overview of social emotional learning and help connect those throughout the learning session. These will actually help us build connections and relationships, which is related to our second objective. We're going to talk about building relationships through student engagement. These activities that I'll go over with you, again, will have social emotional learning competencies in them and related to social emotional learning as a whole, and they can be used with your staff. So that's a good takeaway. And the last one, again, we have been under a tremendous amount of stress, a lot of changes over the past 7 to 8 months, and to help us cope with those challenges and changes, building our social emotional learning capacity as adults and engaging in self-care will be the focus of the 3rd section today. So unless there are any questions, I'm going to proceed.
No questions, you're good.
Great. This is the definition of social emotional learning that comes from the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning, or CASEL. That link will be put into the chat for use for easy access. And this definition actually has been updated within the past couple of weeks. And if you notice that some of the things that we'll touch upon today is really social emotional learning, but there's an emphasis on equity that has been embedded. So just looking at the definition, read quietly to yourself, of course, unless you want to read out loud to yourself, please do. And looking at the definition, we're talking about identity, ourself and others, collective goals, showing empathy and relationships to help make responsible and caring decisions. And that was the emphasis of my research related to cultural care. It was really looking at how we engaged with others through a lens of equity, being aware of our own identities as well as the identities and experiences of others. There are actually 5 core competencies of social emotional learning. They are self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. Today, we will focus on self-awareness, self-management, and relationship skills. Self-awareness and self-management are really, they're dependent on ourselves. So they don't involve anyone else but us. The social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills are interdependent. They have to do with how we relate and interact with others. But if you look at our highlighted blue areas under self-awareness, those are skills and competencies that are related to each of the areas. So we have self-awareness, reflecting and identifying emotions and recognizing those emotions fall underneath self-awareness. Stress management, self-discipline and self-motivation, of course, under self-management. And relationship skills, how do we build relationships? How do we engage? And again, helping and seeking help is related to our relationship skills. So to break these down more concretely, self-awareness, I won't read the screen to you, but take a look at the definition and the skills that are underneath. Self-awareness, again, is relating to our own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how we can identify our own emotions, being aware of our emotions. And one key element that is highlighted through CASEL as well as in cultural care, examining our prejudice and biases. It's really important that we recognize that we bring these naturally to any space because of our experiences and our knowledge and upbringing. So having an awareness of those is essential in relationship building. How this shows up in practice is, again, through reflective practices, being self-aware, keeping a reflective teaching journal. If you're learning with us asynchronously, this might be a good time to jot down how is it that you at home or in your practice use reflective teaching. Self-management is the ability to regulate our own emotions. When we're feeling and we're aware of our feelings, how is it that we respond? How this shows up in practice? Maybe through mindfulness. So when we're feeling stressed or when we are anxious, mindfulness is a practice that has really been promoted across the nation as a way to regulate our emotions, not just as adults, but as students. Sometimes you could have a morning meetings to set the tone for the day where you begin with a mindfulness moment. And this will help us, again, manage our stress, manage any anxiety that we may feel. And also related to that is this will actually help our organizational skills, being mindful and grounded and in the moment. Social awareness, having the ability to take on other people's perspectives, realizing that their experiences may differ from ours, and having the context of recognizing the individual that has different backgrounds or cultures is a part of social awareness. So when we have empathy for others, even though our lived experiences may be different, taking on the perspective of someone else is very important when building relationships. And understanding that there are systematic barriers and organizations and communities that influence how someone may feel about themselves, their perception and perspective of others. So how do we engage with someone who may have a different perspective? And that shows up in practice through active listening. Being ready to ask questions about what someone may be speaking about, not just to respond, but really out of a thoughtful consideration. So if you're an active listener, you can see that there are 7 key active listening skills that you can reflect on. And relationship skills. So often we hear, it comes down to relationships, relationships, and relationships. Students and staff and all of our community stakeholders are a part of our educational community, and how we engage with all of our stakeholders depends upon the relationships that we build. So communicating effectively is a key in building our relationships and developing our relationship skills. So when we have strong relationship skills, we're able to build and maintain healthy relationships, work collaboratively with others, problem solve, and negotiate conflict constructively. In relationship to what we're going to talk about in the third part of today's session is seeking or offering support and help when needed. As caregivers in education, we often recognize that we carry a lot on our plates. Our plates are exceptionally full. The fact that you're here today is so appreciative to the devotion that I think that many of you have to the students and staff and parents that you serve. And that burden can be overbearing at times, and just asking for help can be a challenge. So know that part of relationship skills is being able to seek and offer support when needed. Seeking is the hard part. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help. Showing up in practice, relationship skills can be founded in restorative practices through fair process. So as I said, that part of relationship building is focused on clear communication, which is at the center of fair process. Engaging, explaining, and setting expectations or having expectations is really important, especially when there is a conflict. So when you have clear communication at the center, a lot of times those conflicts can be resolved very easily and with less stress and with more understanding. And the last one is responsible decision making. Again, ability to make caring and constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions across diverse settings. So there's that element of equity and looking at things through a culturally responsive lens, knowing that different situations call for different perspectives. If you look at the examples of responsible decision-making competency skills, we have some key words that are underlined: identifying solutions for personal and social problems, analyzing information, data, and facts, anticipating and evaluating, recognizing, and reflecting on your role to promote personal, family, and community well-being. It's very holistic when we're talking about social emotional learning. It really encompasses every aspect of our lives, in between relationships with others, as well as a relationship with ourselves. And if anyone can put in the chat box, what do you notice about the words that are underlined around social responsible decision making for this competency? Identifying, evaluating, recognizing, anticipating. Do those sound familiar, and where do they show up for you from an educational perspective? There's usually a 7 to 11 second wait time. In the classroom, it's usually 3 to 4 seconds, but in virtual settings, 11 seconds. So where does analyzing, evaluating, recognizing, or identifying show up in terms of education? So if you haven't guessed, they may sound familiar because it's around Bloom's taxonomy. So having the higher critical thinking skills is a part of responsible decision making. So why is there all this emphasis on social emotional learning? What is the importance of it? Is it just something that is a part of what is the new trend in education? No. We have, as experts, known for a very long time what works. And being in the classroom for over 22 years, we often know it is central on culture and climate. So the research proves that the focus on social emotional learning has extreme benefits, not just for adults, but for students and the community. So if you're looking at the benefits to the research proven social emotional learning outcomes that are related to students is that it shows an increase in attendance, engagement, and of course, academics. This is again, peer-to-peer relationships. The research that I conducted actually showed that when there was a strong relationship between adult and student, that carried over and was modeled between student to student. So the importance of modeling a positive relationship between student and educator, or student and adult, was extremely important to that carry over to peer-to-peer relationships. Also, effective social emotional learning strategies show a decrease in behavior and referrals. Bullying incidents have shown a decrease, and mental health referrals. So it's very holistic, but not only is it holistic from a social and emotional standpoint, we know that it impacts academics, showing an 11 to 13% gain when there is a strong sense of social emotional learning capacities present in the learning environment. In relationship to adults, teacher retention. We've seen that when there are negative school culture or climates, that there's likely a high turnover of teachers. So when there's strong, positive school culture and climate focused on social emotional learning, there has been an increase in retention, job satisfaction, who doesn't want to go to a job that they enjoy every day. And again, there's a decrease in teacher burnout and teacher absenteeism. And these things also are very pertinent to today. And given the situation where many of us are navigating a new space and a new place that we have never done before, and that level of stress can add to the barriers that allow us to enjoy our job. So overall, school culture and climate, it comes down to our environment, how we feel about it, and how we perform in that environment in an efficacious way. When we feel like we can do our jobs, we're able to do them better, and our collective efficacy increases. So from a district perspective, there are 4 areas to focus on when implementing social emotional learning. And those are building a foundation, of course, having a plan, having the support of the community. You want to strengthen the adult learning capacity with social emotional learning. So starting with your adults to understand the importance and what social emotional learning is, and therefore promoting social emotional learning for students. And lastly, just continuously looking at a cycle of improvement, evaluating what is working, alignment of current goals and strategies across your district. So for today's session, from a classroom perspective, how is it that we engage in social emotional learning and develop those social emotional learning competencies and capacity so that we can support our students with that same level of growth, social and emotionally. So looking at promoting SEL for students, there are some really great free resources that are out there. And 2 of them specifically are Random Act of Kindness and Sanford Harmony. So Random Act of Kindness is actually a link that's going to be placed in the chat that you can access for yourselves and take a look at all of the resources that they have on their website. They, again, are free. They have K-12 lesson plans, calendars for staff, so that each day there is a devotion of a social emotional learning, competencies that strengthened, articles, free videos, and there is professional learning. And again, free, keyword. I use it a lot with my staff, sharing those resources with them. The other is the Sanford Harmony. And with Sanford Harmony, it is a K-6 lesson plan format. There's professional development. So to access Sanford Harmony, you actually have to create a free account. I don't get any spam. It's not, they don't sell your information to anyone. So there is no concern with privacy with that. So I really like those 2 free curriculum web sources that are available to you. And again, those will be in the chat for you to access later on. And they also are going to be in the PDF version of the PowerPoint that will be provided to all our participants today. That way you have a copy of this for your own learning, as well as to share with others. Any questions in the chat, Debbie or Sarah?
Nope, we're looking good. Eva, we have the links for Random Acts of Kindness and Sanford Harmony there now, so folks can check those out, and we will be sure that they have access to them after today as well.
Great. So another resource is Rethink Ed, and this is a paid curriculum in Pittsburgh Public Schools. We actually use Rethink Ed as a resource for teachers. It's really great, but it is a paid subscription from a district perspective. So that's something that you may want to explore if you are in that role or have the ability to perhaps purchase something along the lines of Rethink Ed. So that's just wanted to put that option out there for you. If you wanted something more formalized, there are a lot of features to it that are beneficial: quizzes, videos. Again, just thinking in terms of finances and what's available for funding, that is always a local and decision that has to be made. But again, something to explore and worth looking into. All right, so just take a deep breath and kind of stretch. I've been talking a lot, and this format is unique. So I'm used to the personal engagement that it's not always captured in this space. So I just want to take a moment to kind of regroup and refresh our minds. This next section is kind of fun. Good takeaways. So if you are listening asynchronously and have your reflective teaching journal, now's a good time to make sure you have a pen nearby so that you can jot down some ideas and reflect on those as we're going through our different activities. So one way to build connections is through student engagement. And again, these things can be used with your staff. They're fun. Believe it or not, I did it with several adults, and it breaks up the day. It also gives you a personal perspective of self as well as others, and make connections to other people that are in your space. So building relationships through social emotional competencies and student engagement. While we're doing this, also see if you can make the connections to the social emotional learning competencies that we mentioned previously: the self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship building skills, as well as responsible decision making. So how might these apply in these activities? So for virtual settings, this is a good good activity when you're getting to know your students, or when you're getting to know your staff at the end of the semester, perhaps when you're changing classes. Have your students in gallery mode, and I'm going to see if I can do it real quick. A lot of people have their cameras off. So this may be a good space where you encourage your students to turn on the cameras, even though that I know many of our school districts do not require students to have their cameras on. And I understand and respect that completely. Sometimes it's a what's the word I'm looking for? They're self-conscious. As a matter of fact, the research shows that kids don't want to turn on their cameras because they don't want to see themselves on camera. They're not comfortable. So encouraging that flexibility of allowing them to have their cameras on and making them more comfortable is part of this activity. So you have them on gallery mode, and the teacher begins with "where is." So you would say "where is," and then you would point to that individual's name who was called. So you go through that same process. It's a fun way to, again, get to know one another, as well as it keeps everyone attentive. So they're constantly scanning the gallery to see where that individual might be. I've seen this used academically in teaching alphabetical order, and even making it a kind of a timed competition between classes. So just a great way to engage and get to know one another in a virtual setting. All right, so this is called Codename. And code name is a way to not only personalize a person's identity, because the name is very important to an individual, as well as create some common connections between individuals. So you would ask your participants to get a piece of paper and something to write with. And if you are following along asynchronously, this is a good idea to do for yourself right now. And you're going to write down your name. For each letter, you're going to write a number that represents something significant about you and assign it to that letter. So as an example, my name is Eva. I chose the numbers 3, 4, and 9 to correspond with each of the letters of my name. And 3 is the number of teenage boys I have. Yeah. V, I chose the number 4, which is how many dogs I have. I know you guys are probably thinking, wow, 3 teenage boys and 4 dogs. I think the same thing a lot. And A is the number 9, which is the day that I was born. So you can find common themes among students or staff, something that you didn't know about one another, and just making that personal connection to not only a name, but a number that is significant to that individual. You could also do this to help develop number sense with small students. So you could say, choose a 2-digit number or a single-digit number, any way that you want to add your own spin to it. Any questions in the chat, Debbie?
No questions. A couple folks saying I'm learning a lot, appreciative of the practical strategies. So
great. I'm glad to hear it. If you want to take this look, again, this is an academic, but yet also relationship building activity that you can do with your students and staff, and they can be funny. So your circular storytelling, and again, encouraging your students to possibly be in gallery mode for this. If you're learning virtually, this is something that you can also do in class. So each person has a sentence that they will add on to the previous person's story starter. Or so the teacher provides a sentence, and then each person after that adds on to that. This could also be a written activity for students in class as well. So you might want to set some guidelines, meaning 1 to 2 sentences if you're doing it virtually, because we can have some very verbose students that like to dominate the conversation. So you could limit it. You could have a student begin and connect it to a genre or a topic that you are learning in context. And this is I Spy. We're going to actually do this in the chat. I know we didn't practice this in our rehearsal, but I think it's a good idea to do something like this. So you can modify this. This is just a simple photograph, similar to the books I Spy, always a fun favorite. And you have the participants you have the participants choose an item or an object that resonates with them. It could be their personality, it could be how they're feeling that day, or that reminds you of somebody special. So let's do this, let's try it. Again, I'm throwing probably Erin and everyone through a loop because we didn't practice this. So let's try it. In the chat, I would like you to choose an object. So you name the object, say for example, M, and then why it's special to you. Debbie, do you mind if we do this?
no, I think it's great. I'm excited.
Oh, good. Good. I kind of threw you for a wrench. Who wants to read about the activities? Let's do them. All right. So in the chat, again, choose an object that you see on the screen and that resonates with you about your personality, and tell us why. So we'll just do this for 3 to 5, so about 3 minutes, and then we'll pause it and move on. And if Debbie, you could, or Sarah, please just read out some of the responses that are being shared, that'd be great.
Sure.
I'll participate too.
Eva, do you want you want them to write the object that they pick and then say why it's meaningful to
Yeah.
them? Okay.
Yeah.
So ladybug, I love gardening and use it to relax. A skeleton because I love science. I'm picking that pink marker that looks like glitter glue. I have 2 little girls. They would have a blast with that. A seashell. She's really missing her trip to the beach this year. It makes me think of happiness, tranquility, peace, and fun. The pink butterfly. Love butterflies and the color pink. Key just bought a house with her fiance. Congratulations, Brittany. Chris is also trying to pick the key, but he's trying to eliminate as many of those from his life as possible.
I love it.
Eva, you picked a B for your 4 boys.
Yes.
A necklace, solo at the beach, peace and harmony. The dice, I love playing games.
Nice.
Number 3, my sweet grandson is 3. Oh. Red R for her youngest son.
Rain. I think that's how you pronounce it, Ron. I love it. Oh, hi, Rolanda.
I don't know how you pronounce that name. I have about 3 variations. So,
yeah.
Fun activity. Says hello, sunshine. So
yeah, that's great. Just a really nice activity to get started. You could do this by unmuting, depending upon how many students you have or even adults. You see that we were able to do it. So you could do it actually both ways. Fun way to make connections, break up the monotony, get people thinking, and again, it's just fun, even as adults. So just a nice activity to do. So thank you for participating. I really appreciate it. All right, this is another one. We're gonna do it. Can we unmute for this one?
Sure.
All right. So, and then when you're gonna hear this all day and you're gonna start laughing. So the game is about refocusing. And really, so when you're in the front of a screen, a lot of times you kind of get tunnel vision, Zoom fatigue, in my case, Teams fatigue, and it just gets just to kind of in a fog. So this is a way to get your individuals or your participants kind of refocused. So we're going to practice it. I'm going to read the directions and then we will actually do it. So when I say the word okay, you're going to respond with all right. Then when I say all right, you're going to respond with okay. Okay? Is everyone,
all right.
All right. Is everyone unmuted?
They just got unmuted.
So let's try that one more time. All right?
Okay.
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 All right.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
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 All right.
All right.
Okay, really okay. So again, you're going to hear yourself when someone says okay sometime throughout the day, or when you are in a Zoom meeting, you might have a little chuckle when you say okay, and then everyone says, ready?
All right.
All right. All right. So thank you for participating again. Just a fun activity to get your brain kind of refocused and lighten up the mood and be more engaging in that space from staring at the screen. And this is probably one of my favorites. Just a simple shout out as a closing activity to a student, and then you're promoting that adult to student relationship as well as student to student relationship when that student who the teacher shouts out gives a compliment or recognizes another individual for something positive. So just to model, thank you, Debbie, Aaron, for supporting me in this space. I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you to all of you, the participants, for being here. And again, just really promotes an appreciation and an acknowledgement for something that has been done positive. In terms of connecting it to anything that you have going on in your school buildings, for example, PBIS, connecting it perhaps to a behavioral expectation that you have in your classroom or a school-wide expectation. Something fun, makes you feel good that someone acknowledged you, even as an adult. It's nice to be acknowledged for something that you've done positively. So thank you to all of you who are here today. Just a few virtual learning ways to make connections and to make it less mundane with students just being in front of the screen. If that's your environment right now, is having the students choose virtual backgrounds and explain why they chose that virtual background. You can personalize them. There are some features if that's available to you, and that's not a restriction. Again, something you can do with the staff or adults. Virtual circles. I noticed that Dr. Raina Jackson was on the line. She is very skilled in conducting virtual circles as a restorative practice lead. And we do this often in our district where we go around and share one-word feelings. Again, just to promote connectivity, and it can be quick and easy. And this is new to me. I was on a webinar recently, and it's called a chat avalanche. So this doesn't always work if you are in Zoom, but it is something that you can do in Teams because you have the ability to put GIFs and emojis in the chat, and you do it all at once. So for example, the teacher prompts to say, all right, everyone choose a emoji or a GIF that represents how you feel about today's learning. And it's your exit slip today. So once we put this in the chat, you can leave, but hold on, don't everyone send it at once. So you put it in the chat and everyone waits. You give people a couple minutes to actually put them in the chat and you say, okay, go. And then you see a flutter of responses that are in the chat, and it's just fun to watch and to see. And it also gives you a glimpse of how the lesson went or how people are feeling that day. So just something that you can use in the virtual learning environments. Okay, again, transitioning to the last section of today, and just take a deep breath, kind of stretch, get your sip of coffee and tea, whatever you need to make yourselves comfortable. And we're going to do the last section, and it's about caring for ourselves. All right. One word in the chat. So using one word, describe how you are feeling today. And Debbie or Sarah will read those out.
I'm just waiting, Eva.
Okay, no problem. We could also unmute if you're comfortable doing it.
Busy. Sunshiny. Happy, inspired, mellow.
I like it.
Educated, calm.
Great.
Optimistic.
Love it. So you can read a room very quickly by one word, right? So good to know that you're feeling that way. It's also a check-in for some students or staff who may be struggling. And so you get a chance to actually kind of check the temperature of the day with certain individuals or students, and maybe be proactive in addressing any issues that they may be having, or capitalize on the positive mood of the learning space. So thank you for participating. So just to circle back around to our competencies, again, self-awareness, self-management, and relationship skills were the three that we were focusing on today. When we're talking about self-care, it starts with really being aware. And then how do we manage our emotions, and how do we engage and seek help when necessary? And it starts with, again, just having an awareness to acknowledge the challenges and complexities that we've experienced in the past 8 months. We have a whole new language. Let's think about the quarantine, synchronous, asynchronous, virtual, Teams, Zooms, Zoom fatigue. I mean, we have new words for new experiences and have experienced shortages with food. Sometimes there were shortages with toilet paper. I mean, just the most unique and sometimes unfortunate situation that has left us feeling stressed, in addition to just the regular life challenges that we have. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and make the connections to trauma, social emotional learning, and equity. So no one was immune from the challenges and that the pandemic brought, right? We were all affected in some way, shape, or form. We're all wearing masks. We're all washing hands more diligently. We appreciate Clorox wipes a whole lot more, especially from a teacher's perspective. They were like gold before, but now they are really of value. So again, we're all impacted through these experiences, but we have to acknowledge that there have been some communities that are disproportionately impacted, whether it be through access to healthcare, whether it be a financial strain. So I just wanted to keep that in mind in the forefront of all that we do, that we really have to look at our self-care through a lens of equity and that of others. So we're often the helpers and providing and supporting others. So the section I've termed helping the helpers. And a lot of the ideas have come from the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. Again, a link that will be provided to you either in the chat as well as in the PDF format. So if you need to read up on more information about trauma and stress, self-management, you can visit that webpage. The first step, of course, is recognizing compassion fatigue. Be aware of the signs. Have you had increased irritability? Are you having difficulty sleeping? Are you suddenly dreaming about your students and what they may be experiences? Are you less impatient? So again, being aware. You are welcome to give me a thumbs up if any of those feelings have resonated with you. So if you want to look at the emojis and respond, we can believe that we've all felt this in some kind of way. So caring for yourself.
Eva, for those of you who are new to Zoom, the reactions that Eva's talking about should be at the bottom of your screen if you still want to give her a thumbs up.
Yeah, let me pause for a second. I don't want to rush anyone in acknowledging how they're feeling today. So again, I'll ask the question, if you have felt fatigued and have been perhaps having difficulty concentrating, you can use the emoji that's at the bottom of your screen to reflect that. And they'll magically appear on the screen, so that's nice. So you then again, take care of yourself. It's like putting on your own mask. The saying is you can't care for others until you care for yourself. So again, put your mask on first, take breaks, go for a walk, and start your day on a positive note. There's actually an app for that, and I have it on my phone. It's great. It sends me messages every day. It's sort of like a mantra. It's called the gratitude app. And that's what it looks like. So if you go to your app store, if you have an Apple phone, you can download this app for free. There are some paid features to it, but one of the best free features is that you just get a daily message as a reminder of to be thankful for what it is that you have. And speaking with mindfulness, going to calm.com is a great resource. They have videos, sleep videos. You can go on to YouTube, find some mindfulness videos there as well. Sometimes it's just really recognizing how fortunate that we are. So I always say, make a list of your blessings, a gratitude journal, and be okay with not being okay. Just realize that you're not alone in the overwhelming feelings sometimes that we have. And you're it's normal. So expect to be challenged in how we're feeling during this time. And of course, many school districts across the state have an employee assistance program. So if it's okay to ask for help. So they're there for you. That's the whole purpose. And please feel comfortable reaching out for help. In the chat, write down giving gratitude to someone who has helped you through the pandemic. So putting into practice what we said is being thankful for what we have.
All right, Eva, we have my husband.
Nice.
Chase, I believe that's Sarah's husband. My BFF, my coworkers, my parents, husband, mom, best friend.
It's great to hear that people have others to lean on, and sometimes we just need that reminder.
Yeah, we have family in general, our secretaries.
Yes.
Bless
yes.
Secretaries for life.
Yes. I have to say, I'll just share mine as I'm thankful for, as much as they drive me crazy, my dog. They bring a sense of comfort, and there's no judgment. So I am thankful for my dogs. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And thank you for your patience. The technology will keep you humble. And again, you have to find ways to find humor and ways to laugh. That being said, I have something that's coming up. Some other suggestions were to limit the news and social media. Sometimes it's good to take a technology break, especially at least a half an hour before bed. I need to take my own advice with this, especially recently. So find ways to connect with others, finding commonalities. How do you socialize? Perhaps a weekly family Zoom with friends, house party app is a great way. It's fun. You can play games with other people that are online, exercise or virtual dance party. There have been several on Instagram where D Nice, he's a famous DJ. He offers free virtual dance parties. That's been a real great experience at our house, and sometimes just stop and do nothing. These may seem like common sense no-brainers for a lot of us, but sometimes just in our line of work, we need that reminder to stop, decompress, and disconnect. So speaking of laughing, if you don't know who this is, his name is Eddie B, and he is a former teacher turned comedian, because we all need a good laugh. And if anyone can relate to education, it is he. So fingers crossed, I'm going to try to play this video, and prayerfully it will work. So stand by.
Need everybody to mute themselves. Marcus, I can't see your face, son. I need to always see your face. If I can't see your face, an absence is gonna be in your space. Find a quiet area in your house and go to it fast. Sit up. I can't see you. All I see is your forehead, son. Larissa, do me a favor, sweetie. Wake up. I can't hear what you're saying. Talk up. I can't hear you. You need to go to the breakout room until you get yourself together. Remove participant from class. Yes, you need to write this down. Would you pay attention? Please keep your mics on mute. Please don't type in the chat box unless I ask you to. Please don't write on the screen. Yes, this is gonna be in your course folder for you to finish copying later. We are not starting our own meeting. Don't call nobody in class while we in class. We're not talking about Roblox in the chat. Only time you chat, if I ask you to chat back. Nobody should be using emojis in the chat box. I don't even know what half that stuff is. Parents, would you please hold your questions until the end of the class? I got 26 in here. It's time for a break. Make sure I mute myself. Oh, this got my teaching spirit vexed. Okay, back to work.
So hopefully I can't hear your laughter, but I hope you found that funny.
There's some crying, laughing in the chat for you, Eva. So
I love it. I'm glad. So you can go check out his videos. I've watched them multiple times, and they're very, very relatable. If you've ever stepped foot in a classroom, or if you're just a parent, I completely get it. So I hope you enjoyed. So that concludes our session today. And now is a good time to take any questions, comments, or thoughts. I do have a website you're welcome to visit, and there's my email on the screen. So however you want to handle it, Debbie, we can take questions and comments.
So Eva, thank you so much for your time today, for sharing this amazing content. I'm going to give folks, we didn't have any questions other than will we get the slides afterwards throughout the presentation. So I'm just going to give folks an opportunity to add those questions to the chat now.
Sure.
While they're doing that, Eva, do you want to talk a little bit about your organization and how it's related to this work?
So yeah, I am a learning environment specialist, and my area of expertise is really promoting positive school culture and climate through a lens of equity and pulling in a lot of school culture and climate initiatives. With my research and my professional experience, I started an organization called Culturally Connected Education, and we support and provide other school districts, teachers, and individuals, corporations that are interested in promoting organizational culture that is inclusive, of course, diverse and equity focused, but actually through a lens of care and compassion. So that's really, it's a stem of my research and my professional experiences that have allowed me to help others. It's an after hours kind of job, but I have made time over the summer. I work with a lot of school districts over the summer to help them with action planning, equity audits, just really professional learning communities. And you can find out more on the web, or you can just reach out to me if you have any questions about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and not to self-promote or say that, you know, people have to check it out, but so that they have an idea of what they'll find when they go to the website.
Oh yeah, so it just gives you a little bit of background of me, my experiences, things that we offer, topics that professional development sessions can be focused on, or if you just have a question about anything in general, advice, I'm happy to help that.
On that note, oh, the links to the websites, that's good. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to share before we're done, Eva?
No, I'm good. So one takeaway, before you leave, this is your exit slip, and so quote and motivate. If you have a quote that inspires you or resonates you for the last 3 minutes, put it in the chat so we can send people off with some positivity and motivation for the remainder of their day and their week. So this is a good time for your asynchronous learners to take note of what's happening in the chat and find something that motivates you and write it down. And that's all.
Excellent. This too shall pass is the first one. While folks are adding their quotes that motivate them and resonate with them, I just want to thank you again, Eva, for your time and your sharing your expertise with us today. And shortly, or right now, Sarah has added the link to get your Act 48 credit. So if you are looking to get Act 48 for this hour, this morning, we are happy to give that to you, but we do need you to fill out the form to give us all of that information that the Department of Education just really loves for us to collect. So we'll give folks a couple of minutes for that.
And I gladly will take any feedback. So I look forward to hearing from anyone. Thank you, Gina. I'm reading some of the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Some good comments in the chat coming in now. Lots of thank yous, Eva.
Great. I can multitask now, so I'm able to look at in the chat. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Lisa. Just keep swimming. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Do there is no try. Thank you, Raina. All right, keep being great, everybody.